And Friends comes away with a rebound and a chance to take the lead. 33-32, Emerlehu going for the lead from the left wing. Emerlehu with the triple on the move, ready to run her from 8 feet. No, Jackson snares down the miss and then puts it home for the right side. Jackson in double figures for Friends. Trey Reed looking inside, off to Emerlehu, turns down to 3, kicks it left wing to Trey Reed. He drives in the lane, now to the rim, scoops it up and in, and he got fouled. 7. Tabor ahead with 1:40 to go in overtime. Here's Garner, strong move to the cup on Zoe Rust. She throws it up and makes it, and she gets fouled for one more. Friends ahead, Barberry goes up, and he flushes it down. Barberry taking flight and getting a body in the process. What's going on, everyone? Voice of the Friends Falcons, Pat Strathman, here with another edition of the Friends Basketball Show on ESPN Wichita 92.3 FM. As always, we're broadcasting from Walk-On Sports Bistreaux. I bet this place was hopping this past weekend with conference championship action taking place in the NFL, and I'm sure this will be a good spot for the big game, which is just around the corner. You have college basketball going on, and when you come here, you're always going to have a good view of a TV screen. You can sit wherever, and they're going to have plenty of TVs for you so you can watch the game that you want to watch. They also have fantastic food, game day menu with that Southern twist. They also have some Southern classics as well. Lots of good food at Walk-On Sports Bistreaux, proud supporters of Friends University Athletics, and we're certainly thankful for them coming out to Walk-On Sports Bistreaux on Mays Road. Well, tonight we'll get a breakdown of Friends men's basketball with the head men's basketball coach, Phil McClintock. Since the last time we talked, it's been a little bit of a rough stretch for the Friends men's basketball team. However, you do have to take a step back and realize the last 4 opponents, all 4 of them, were national tournament teams in the last couple of years, and there were some pretty competitive moments in a couple different games. Coach, I guess we can go all the way back to when you took on Oklahoma Wesleyan down in Bartlesville. It was 92-61 being the final, but you guys hung tough for a little bit. Bartlesville, though, one of the tougher places to play in the conference. We all know what Oklahoma Wesleyan is like. The Eagles are always well coached with Donnie Boswick leading the charge. They're always really good defensively. They have to have – you've been in this conference for a long time. They might have the best big I've seen, at least in my time. You can speak more to that, but Jaden Litsky is just a force underneath, never misses. And then they have guard play that goes very well with a guy like Jaden Litsky. So when you have all those factors on the road, really good team, it could be a struggle. And there's no doubt there in the second half it was, but you guys competed for a good chunk there in the first half. So your thoughts as we go all the way back to January 17, that loss to Oklahoma Wesleyan?
Yeah, I mean they're good. They're really good. They were number 4 team in the nation when we played them. So obviously on the road, and they have not. I don't know what his record is at home. I know that
it's got to be
count
insane,
losses
right?
on one hand. So we knew it was going to be a tough game, but I mean that's for us. It's always good. It's a challenge to play teams like that, and so. They were, to me, that was one of the best defensive performances I've seen. I mean, that was just, they were in your face, the guard play, making plays that were really impressive. Just, I mean, being, in multiple places at once. And, Jaden Litsky, I don't know that there's been as dominant on both ends of a big that I can remember. Which is crazy because, I mean, we doubled him and everybody's double teaming him and doing different things to try to stop him. And he still always ends up, I think he was 7-7 against us, or, I know he didn't miss. And so, and that's with us double teaming him. So he's just really good, and they're good. They're only shooting like 28 or 29% from 3 on the year, and so we were within 8 with like 2 minutes left or under 2 minutes left. They made a little mini run. We turned it over a few times, gave them layups, and I think it was 14 points at half. We were down, which I mean, it happens, and so we're regrouping at half, and then they came out and they just made a ton of shots. And so that team, if you combine them, their elite defense with making shots, that's where the score ended up for us. And so it was a good learning experience for us. Didn't go the way we wanted it to, but we did show some signs of competing there in the game. We had some guys off the bench in the second half come in and do some good things. So it was a tough game, but they're a really good team.
Well, how many games are you going to win when you allow, 77% from the field in the second half? Kind of tough to dig out of a hole when Oklahoma Wesleyan's that dynamic around the rim.
And a lot of that, I mean, not only was it they were shooting well, but we also, that was a little bit of our offense and our toughness, giving them some good looks, and some layups too. So.
Well, Jaden Linsky did end up with 16. He was 7 of 7 from the field. And DJ Talton Jr., that guy, he doesn't need to average 20 points per game, but when he does reach 20, good luck. When he's on his game, especially making some shots on the perimeter, but defensively, he ended up with 6 steals in the game. He's one of the better defensive guards I have seen in quite some time. So, no surprise, tough one, though, on the road at Oklahoma Wesleyan. I think you knew that you had your work cut out for it. And then the next game, you guys welcomed the Bethel Threshers to the Garvey Center on January 20th. And going into that game, for those that haven't followed KCAC basketball this year, for the Bethel Threshers, Jason Artez, I think, would admit that at times offensively it can be there, but it's been a little bit of a struggle on the offensive side. But the one thing that they do control a lot is their defensive intensity, and they always seem to bring it. That's something that they've really been, known for ever since Jason Artez took over as the head coach, and he's had great success. But at the half, it's talking 19-17. So maybe going back in time without the 3-ball being available in college basketball, 19-17 is a score that you don't see very often in today's day and age. But they built a little bit of a cushion. You guys came back and made it competitive at the half. It's just neither team could really get in offensive rhythm. Second half, Bethel made threes, and when Bethel is connecting from beyond the arc, good luck. It becomes a little bit of a struggle. So what'd you see from that game against the Bethel Threshers?
Yeah, that game was disappointing for us. I mean, I feel like it was a little bit of a hangover from Oklahoma Wesleyan in that first half, offensively especially. Luckily, we played good enough defense. We held a team to 19 at half. So usually, you're in good shape if you can do that. So fine, it happens. That half. Obviously, both teams, I feel like you said, set the game of basketball back. But the thing that Bethel was able to do, and they have their returners, they made, they have guys that played in the national tournament last year. They were able to find a way to, to pick it up and stick to the game plan and to do things that they wanted to do in that second half. And we kind of folded, and similar to what happened against Oklahoma Wesleyan, we just kind of went away from the game plan on both ends. And then you're playing a good team, on the road or at home, things can get away from you. And so, obviously, only scoring, we're averaging around 80 points a game. So scoring 43 points was not typical for us. And so, that was out of the last couple was definitely a disappointing second half at home.
Well, in the first half, comforting to know that when your team needs to lock up when they're not shooting well, sometimes when you're shooting poorly, you tend to go, oh, man, like you get in your head about that, and then you just kind of check out on the defensive end because you're just thinking, now it's one of those games. And if it's going to be one of those games, then maybe I don't have to try as hard, or maybe I don't have to lock up as well defensively. Maybe I don't have to box out as well as before. But for your team to lock in defensively like that, sure, second half not the greatest, but in the first half, I feel like if you are missing shots, the game looks 1,000 times better when you make shots. Yep. When you miss shots, you really show your character and what you're truly about. And I felt like during the first half, there was something that we saw from this team that I don't think we've seen so far this year.
Yeah, there was. We definitely guarded. We rebounded. And we started to rebound better. I mean, we're playing a little bit bigger lineups. And there have been some games where we're consistently out shooting teams, shooting more shots than the other team, which is something we always look at. And we're out rebounding teams. I mean, and so – but, we only shot 5 free throws that game, the total game. And you just, you have to be tough enough whenever things heat up to, hey, you got to throw it inside. You got to get paint touches. You got to get to the free throw line. So, I mean, your defense can only take you so far if you're, especially in that second half. We turned it over a few times. They got a couple clean looks on runouts, which was, a key, for us. And so we got away from our game plan a little bit there, and that's the reason they were able to stretch that lead.
Well, it was incredibly physical. That was a very physical ball game, and sometimes going through those, kind of learn from those situations. Phil McClintock, our guest, head men's basketball coach at Friends University, here on the Friends Basketball Show on ESPN Wichita 92.3 FM, broadcasting from Walk-On Sports Bistreaux. Coming up this week, a road trip to McPherson and then a home game against Bethany. So we'll talk about the two battles with the two teams in McPherson County coming up in just a little bit. You guys go on the road to Evangel for the first time. KCAC newcomers have to go to Springfield. You really don't know what to expect. I don't think people understand just how challenging it is to go somewhere new for the first time and not really have a feel of what's really going on. But you guys made the long road trek out that way and really played exceptionally well in that first half. You guys were on top by 7, 42-35. And then second half, Evangel kind of showed what we know about the Evangel Valor, a team that made it to the national tournament last year while being in the heart of America Athletic Conference, a team this year that, yes, went in a little bit of a slump, but that team is very capable of being a KCAC championship team. I don't think I want to face the Evangel Valor in the postseason tournament. I think that would be really, really rough this year, depending on how things shape up. But in the second half, they controlled things, and at the end, it was a 13-point loss, 88-75, but still a good first half on the road against a team that made it to the national tournament last year. What was your reaction to what you saw against the Valor?
Yeah, I mean, that's, that was another, good first half. We got to string 40 minutes of basketball together, and that's what we're struggling to do at times. We played really well that first half, and we stuck to the game plan, and we played together. Made a shot at the buzzer there, 7-point lead. And I was really proud of the way we competed there because things, especially on the road, and I'd never played there. You just never know what you're going to get when you're going places you haven't played. And so none of the guys have played there either. And so, that team is a team that's really hitting stride. They actually had been struggling hitting shots. And then that second half, they caught fire a little bit, which obviously, they scored 50 points or a little bit above 50 points, I think, in that second half. And so we got to be able to find a way to get more stops and limit their threes, and because it was not just the perimeter; they were making threes and getting to the line and making layups there. So we weren't able to kind of stop their run. But really good first half on the road. Just got to find a way to get play 40 minutes of basketball in that one.
Playing 40 minutes of basketball seems to be kind of a theme this year with a team that is new with some new faces and some injuries that you guys have suffered. How about in that game? Steele Chapman finishing with 11 points, but he had 7 assists and 3 steals. I know the turnovers, you look at the 5 turnovers, but he's a point guard. He's going to naturally have more turnovers than the rest of them. But that's a complete game effort there from Steele Chapman. And I know he doesn't need to be a scorer. When he is a scorer, obviously things really open up a little bit more, but he's really about controlling the game and being a good defender. So what'd you see from him in that game against Evangel?
Yeah, he was playing really hard, and he wanted to win that game, and especially in that first half. But in the second half too, if we can get Steele to turn the ball over. He had a couple where he threw the ball ahead, and Al was running up the court and hit him in the back, and there were just some mistakes that were unforced. But I mean, when he's playing like that, 7 assists. He only shot 7 shots, I think, and was able to score. So he's going to help us because he is a plus defender, especially on the ball. So when he's playing that hard and rebounding, he makes an impact for us positively.
Phil McClintock, our guest here on the Friends Basketball Show. He is the Friends men's basketball coach, and they will be in action this week at McPherson coming up tomorrow, and then a game against Bethany coming up on Saturday. Latest game was an overtime game against Kansas Wesleyan this past weekend. Coyotes get the win 86-76, but a chance to win the game, jump ahead. And KJ Spiller at the line goes 1 of 2, tying the game at 71, and then you guys go into overtime, and Kansas Wesleyan got a couple big shots. Easton Hunter made a key 3, and the Coyotes were able to win that basketball game. Another tough competitive game against Kansas Wesleyan. But in the first go-around, up in Salina, you guys were within 5 with about 4 minutes to go. And then Alex Littlejohn goes on a run by himself, and a 5-point game becomes a 19-point loss. This time around, I think that was the one thing I kept noting on the broadcast was, hey, this is what happened last time. Let's see if things have changed, and certainly things did change. You guys had your moments to get that win outright. I know you're still not honing in on moral victories. A loss is still a loss. I understand that, but to be once again this close with the NAIA tournament team from last year and a team that's in position to make the national tournament again this year, to be that competitive, I'm sure another sign of good things to come. What stood out to you this past weekend?
Yeah, I mean, we were able to put 40 minutes of basketball together. So in that first half, we watched mostly the first half. We watched a little bit of the second half too, but we could have been better that first half. I really think so on both ends, and we started off a little bit slow and weren't really doing team things as much, but luckily, we got on 8 in that first half, and we were able to make a run, and we were able to start making plays and playing with confidence, and then we were able to carry that into the second half. And I think that was the best execution we've had on both ends, sticking with the game plan on defense, executing, and then offensively we were able to get the looks that we wanted to get. And so, unfortunately, we put 40 minutes together. That wasn't enough because you're tied with a team that's receiving votes and, 2 returning All-Americans. And we weren't able to, in that overtime, we just didn't have enough juice. We had a couple weird things not go our way, and then once you're down to a team like that by 6 or 7 with those leaders and those, guys that are returning, it's hard to come back. So I was overall proud of our team and the effort they gave, and I had a lot of other coaches and people tell me that, hey, you thought you guys had it, you guys looked really good, which to me, okay, we didn't win the game. So, but I'm like, I appreciate it again, man. So, I mean, I appreciate everybody sticking with us because we show signs and we're, our guys, we had a great practice yesterday. I mean, and have lost 4 in a row, just a brutal stretch in our league. And that's what happens in our league, because the teams are good. So I keep telling them, hey, if you guys stick with it, I promise we're going to have some success. And I believe we'll win some games here down the stretch. So, and you never know until you actually do it. But, I appreciate everybody sticking with us. And I know it's not easy and not always pretty. But our guys, that was an impressive game for me. And I know a lot of the people feel the same way.
Yeah, well, I came away super impressed with it all because, again, you guys battled incredibly hard. You guys were able to pull down quite a bit of rebounds in the game. I mean, you guys pulled down 14 offensive rebounds. You guys finished with 12 turnovers, but it didn't seem like there were, a ton. I think in the first half, you guys really controlled the ball exceptionally well. And KJ, the guy was perfect in the first half, a perfect 7 for 7, I think, in the first half. Ends up with 24 points and 6 assists. I know at the line he wants that one free throw back. And if there's one thing I know about KJ, he puts a lot on his shoulders and takes a lot of responsibility for some losses. But I can't get over just how well KJ Spiller played. And, keep in mind of what he's going up against. As much as we talk about Alex Littlejohn and how good that as he is as an offensive player, he's exceptionally good as a defender. And for KJ to have that type of performance, that had to have been a pretty nice thing to see, a career-high 24 on Saturday.
It was good. Yeah, he was upset in the locker room after, and I nipped that in the bud pretty quick. Like, we would never have been there if he didn't go, have 26 points. So we're not going to do that. So, and he got over pretty quick. But I mean, you got guys making plays. I think he needs to probably shoot more, and we need to feed him more as a team. I mean, he needs to be shooting. The top players in our league are shooting 15 to 18 shots a game. Okay, well, how can we get KJ more shots? And we try to. So. But Tim Barbary in that game, I hadn't seen him play this year like that, and we were running plays for him like, hey, how do we get Tim the ball? Because he was playing like a man, and we need that from him. From all of our bigs. Al was crashing the boards, and that was a great rebounding team, and they're athletic and they're tough, and we out rebounded by I think 12. And so the recipe for success for us the rest of the year is we got to get tougher, we got to get more physical, and we were that game. I don't know that we were more physical than them, but we matched their physicality, and to do that against K-Dub and a good team like that was encouraging.
Well, you brought up Tim Barbary from Abilene, 19 points, 12 rebounds, a senior that had that type of performance. His role shifted a little bit, going from a starter to being a guy coming off the bench, but didn't let that impact him in the game on Saturday. And, Coach, something that you've been kind of riding with, you look at guys, look at different rotations. At times when you go with a two-big lineup with Steve and Tim, it really looks quite good. There are times I'm like, man, like you kind of have a big on big, doing a little screen around the rim, little curl, and Tim does a pretty good job at finishing there. So I've been seeing some success on that front.
It's helped us rebounding-wise, and I think maybe a little bit defensively. We've been kind of working on some stuff defensively. We've been getting cross-matched. We're playing some smaller guards, so trying to keep our matchups to where we have bigs, guarding bigs. And then working on some things offensively. I mean, I like to spread it out, and I like people, bigs being on the perimeter too, but we're trying to get our bigs a little closer to the basket, maybe help rebounding-wise. And so you can play those big lineups when you're playing a two-big offense, So we're trying to coach them up and do some different things that might help. And I know going into the future years, I think we figured out some things that will help to where we can do that as well. So, but we still have a lot of year left, and I like the trajectory we're going in, even though the wins and losses might not seem that way right away. So,
Well, tiny little wrinkles, always a nice little thing to add, because here we are. I always call it the turn, because now you're taking on teams for the second time, unbalanced schedule. You're not going to play everyone for a second time, but you are facing teams for a second time. As a coach who's been in this conference for a while and being used to that, what's different now that we're here in the turn, if you will, after what we saw compared to in the first half of the season?
Well, there's a lot of differences. It depends on where your season's going. Usually what we've done at Ottawa and what I do believe is the first time around you try to play your style, see how it goes, and if you need to make adjustments like drastic changes, you do that in the second time around. It's a little different probably for me, which we've made changes. But I mean, this being my first year, we're definitely not going to abandon what we do. And so it's not like we're going to, I don't want to, leak my information to run a ton of zones and do anything crazy, because we got to get these dudes to trust our stuff and to get better at our stuff. So it's a little different in my situation, I feel like. So, but we've seen all these guys, and our scouts, I feel like, get easier just because our players are familiar now and we know what they're going to run. And, when you're playing good teams, they usually don't change much. There will be a few sets, but we have McPherson coming up next, and they're running the same stuff because they're having a good year. And so I think the familiarity is something that, is the biggest change for me.
Yeah, for sure. Phil McClintock, head men's basketball coach at Friends University, here on the Friends Basketball Show. This week you take on both schools from McPherson County. You knocked out McPherson inside the Garvey Center. You're able to do that after trailing 18-0. So, if you get in a hole, you're able to come back. But Mac, though, TJ really hasn't played extremely hard. Colin Storr is probably in the running to be KCAC Newcomer of the Year. At least he should be, because, man, he's having a fantastic season. And then, you throw out the other pieces that they have. And Antonio Watson, Jerome Mabry still there. They got some different pieces that are awfully impressive, and they're so big. They're incredibly big with what they're able to do too, with what they got at the 5 spot. So, your thoughts on McPherson, the game coming up tomorrow?
Yeah, they're good. And TJ, he's coached similar since he's been a head coach. This year, I think those guys are just so physical. Like you said, he's always got bigger guys. But he has the experience at the guard spot, and he has some shooting at the guard spot to go along with size and strength. And so we're going to have to get physical. We're going to have to rebound. We're going to have to, throw the ball inside and match their physicality. So.
Yeah. Well, then after that, you take on Bethany on Saturday, and for you guys, it's a little bit of a revenge game. You drop one on the road up inside Han Gymnasium. I know Bethany this year, it's been a little bit up and down for the Swedes under a brand new head coach who's still trying to figure some stuff out. I'm sure they've kind of gone through some injuries just like everyone else has. What do you see from Bethany when they come to town on Saturday?
Yeah, we haven't seen them a ton. We follow certain teams, so like when you're doing scouts and stuff like that, we haven't seen Bethany as much. I know they're mixing it up, running some zones. They'll give us a different look definitely a much different look than what they gave us last time. I felt like we just didn't really play our game when we were down there in Lindsborg. So I'm looking forward to seeing them again and seeing them at home. So
yeah, for sure. All right, Coach, thank you so much for your time. Best of luck.
Okay, thank you very much.
Phil McClintock, head men's basketball coach at Friends University, here on the latest edition of the Friends Basketball Show on ESPN Wichita 92.3 FM. The Falcons, they've dropped 4 in a row against 4 really good teams. Now they take on another good team coming up tomorrow up inside the McPherson Sports Center. The Bulldogs and the Falcons The tip-off times at 8 for the men, 6 o'clock for the women. Women have won, 7 in a row now, which they're playing exceptionally well, and they're hoping to keep things rolling. And then on Saturday, the Falcons, they come back to the Garvey Center. 5 o'clock is when coverage really begins on Cox 122 in the KCAC network. Bethany and friends, the women playing at 5 and the men to follow at 7 o'clock. We had a great atmosphere this past weekend. We'll love to see a very similar atmosphere coming up this weekend against the Bethany Swedes. Coming out to the Garvey Center and have some fun and make the gym incredibly loud. Well, that does it for us here today. For Walk On Sports Bistreaux on Maze Road, TVs everywhere. No matter where you sit, you're going to see what you want to see. Conference championship action in the National Football League this past weekend. I'm sure you're looking at college basketball and thinking, hey, I want to go catch multiple games at once. Well, you certainly can. This is where you could do it. You can do it right here at Walk On Sports Bistreaux. And they have that wonderful food with that southern twist that we all love. Delicious food, great vibes out here at Walk On Sports Bistreaux. And we thank them for their support of Friends University Athletics. On behalf of Phil McClintock, I'm Pat Strathman saying so long from Walk On Sports Bistreaux. Thanks for watching and listening to another edition of the Friends Basketball Show on ESPN Wichita 92.3 FM.